Hello and welcome back to the trash. And today, we're going to be reviewing Tough as Nails Season 2, the entire season. I did all the episode reviews already, and now it's time to tackle the entire season. So let's go ahead and do this. Personally, I didn't like the season as much as I liked Season 1. Season 1 just had such a magic spark that captured me. Season 2, it kind of had that. I mean, the cast was there. It's just a lot of things that was outside the show's control, such as the COVID stuff, the medical disqualifications. All that just kind of really harmed the season for me, which is sad because it could have been a really good season, but the forces outside of the show just dictated the season. Anyways, how I'm going to work this review is I'm going to first talk about the teams. That's what I'm going to do first. Then I'm going to go through each and every one of the contestants, and then I'm going to give out my special awards at the end, so stay tuned for that. So first, we're going to talk about Savage Crew. All 6 of them were only together for the first 2 episodes, because Mikey left before episode 3 even started. So the first 2 episodes are the only episodes where they were all together, and then after that it was just a 5-person team. It was just Scott, Meryl, Shelly, Sarah, and Swifty. And they were the winners of the team competition. It's a shame that Mikey wasn't able to be there when his team won. The team that he chose, remember, he's the one who won the original challenge and picked the Savage Crew team. He picked the Savage Crew team, and they won without him. That's gotta be a shame. But overall, I think this was a pretty good team. I mean, it was a pretty positive, uplifting team. You had Scott, Shelly, Sarah, Swifty, and Meryl just lifting each other up at every opportunity. Mikey was too, while he was still there. And I just think this was a very solid team that really knew how to work well together. A team that really respected each other, and a team that enjoyed each other's company. Now moving on to Dirty Hands. Dirty Hands was a bit of the underdog team this season. They were kind of like what Savage Crew was last season. This team consisted of Zeus, Liz, Angel, Freight Train, Tara, and Arida. But let's be honest, Tara was only in it for 2 episodes, so really after that it got cut down to Zeus, Freight Train, Liz, Angel, and Arida. And then Freight Train got medically disqualified, so the team that was present for the final team challenge was only Zeus, Liz, Angel, and Arida. And that's just sad to see. I mean, I'm glad Freight Train was able to come back for the very last episode, but was Tara not able to be there for the last episode? Because here's the thing I don't get. Freight Train came back for the last episode. Tara did not. I understand why Mikey wasn't there. He broke a rule. Production probably doesn't like him. But Tara was medically disqualified because of her hand, and she couldn't be on the team anymore. But she didn't have to do anything in that last episode except watch the final 3 battle it out. So she could have been there just to watch, which is the same thing Freight Train did. Freight Train didn't have to do anything physical after he came back. Tara didn't have to either. So I don't understand why they brought back Freight Train and they didn't bring back Tara. Alright, so now I'm going to go over the individuals. And along the way, I'm actually going to show clips for my power ranking I did all the way back in February, 2 days before the season started. So I can just basically see how wrong I was. And it's going to be funny. It's going to be a fun time. So let's get started with the person who ultimately ended up in 12th place.
She doesn't seem like she's up to par with anyone else I have left so far, and that is Tara Alverso. So she lives on a boat in Alaska. If that doesn't scream adaptability, I don't know what does. She seems very adaptable, very prepared, very willing to take things on, but
I didn't account for her hand injury. No, I was really high on Tara before the season started, but I didn't know she had a hand injury, so that's kind of where that happened. She was medically disqualified, although she technically punched out because she lost the overtime before she got medically disqualified, and she got eliminated by Swifty. Now, if there were no injuries involved, if Swifty didn't have his foot injury, if Tara didn't have her hand injury, does Tara win that overtime? I'm not sure. I think Swifty might actually win that overtime, if I'm being completely honest. But Tara did not do as well as I originally thought she would. I thought she would, make top 5 or something. I did not anticipate the first one out. It's funny because I also said in my original Tough as Nails Season 2 video, when I reacted to the cast, I said I hope she gets more screen time than Season 1 Tara, and she definitely didn't get more screen time than Season 1 Tara. Alright, now moving on to 11th place. Let's talk about Mikey Eyebrows.
Eyebrows, he seems like he'd skate by. He seems like maybe young, He seems like maybe when Young went into overtime all those times, maybe he'll be the guy that always goes into overtime and never goes home.
He was definitely not the Young of the season. He did not even go into overtime once. He never got a chance to. He was actually disqualified before episode 3 started for breaking a rule. Now, Phil Kogan has not said what that rule was, so we don't know what he did to get kicked off the show. But nonetheless, he was kicked off the show for breaking a rule. Would have been really helpful if I knew what that rule was. But no, Mikey Eyebrows, I really enjoyed him in the first 2 episodes. It's a shame he had to go out the way he did, but that's just the way you gotta do it. If you break the rules, you gotta pay the consequences, man. He ended up saving Liz and Angel from going into overtime together, but Angel got eliminated the very next episode. And actually, let's talk about Angel right now.
But he's not winning. And that is Angel Castillo. Angel kind of gives off those Lewis vibes for me. I said that in my first video, and I'm sticking to that. Angel seems like Lewis from season 1. He seems like he'd do well in team challenges. I think that's where he's going to really shine, is in the team portion of the game. But in the individual portion, that's just him, I don't know how well he's going to do.
Well, I was actually correct in putting him in 10th place in my original ranking, because guess where he's at in the official elimination order? He ended up in 10th place. He was the first one to, actually be eliminated in overtime, without being disqualified. It was the second overtime of the season, and the first person to actually lose the overtime without, giving up, essentially. Angel, he tried until the end. Now, he was eliminated by Freight Train. Freight Train was ultimately the person who ended up giving him the old boot. And, it was nice to see Freight Train win in overtime. That's probably one of Freight Train's highlights of the entire season, is winning that overtime against Angel. Because Angel, at that point, was thought to be a really good competitor. I think a lot of that came from the team competition. A lot of the stuff where he's like, oh, Angel's a beast. Angel's the MVP. Yeah, he's the MVP in the team competition, but when it comes to individual competition, Angel demonstrated that he's not the best. He's a great team leader, but individually, there leaves a lot to be desired. Overall, I enjoyed Angel on this season. He was such a good source of encouragement for Dirty Hands. I really expected him to pull Dirty Hands together, even without Freight Train, even without Tara, and get the win. But it just didn't happen for him.
Who I don't see as very adaptable either, and that is Shelly Garcia, the nurse of the season. Now, she does seem to have a really calm, chill personality, and that's something that does put her above Angel, puts her above Arida, puts her above Sarah. She does seem like she's going to be probably one of my favorites on the season, but I don't know if she's necessarily going to win.
I mean, I was kind of right about her being chill, and I was also kind of right about her not being that adaptable. Now, I did end up redacting that statement on her adaptability after episode 2, when she went inside the eel tank, got the job done that way. I think that was a very adaptable thing. I'm gonna end up saying the word adaptable. I'm so sorry. But Shelly really proved herself in the second and third, and even the 4th episode. Why not? But in that 5th episode, once the episode got going, it was incredibly obvious that she was going to punch out. She went into overtime against Knuckles, and as soon as that happened, I immediately thought to myself, well, it's over for Shelly. Shelly's not winning in overtime against Knuckles, and she didn't win in overtime against Knuckles. I would have liked to see Shelly make it a lot farther, but it just wasn't in the cards for her. I don't know, she's one of the more screwed over people this season, in my opinion. I think going up into overtime against Knuckles might have been the immediate disadvantage for her.
I feel like Freight Train's kind of Michelle and Murph combined. You might be looking at this video thinking, well, you're comparing him too much to the season 1 cast. That's what you gotta do. In a season 2, you gotta compare him to season 1. And I think Michelle and Murph, if they combine, they make Freight Train. Freight Train is a UPS delivery guy. I think he'll be someone who's underestimated. I think nobody's going to take him seriously because he's a UPS delivery guy.
I was wrong. I think where I got the whole Michelle-Murph mixture idea was just from physical appearance and job. Because Michelle had that job that a lot of people would underestimate. So did Freight Train. Also, Freight Train's kind of got that Murph vibe to him. Now, if Freight Train hadn't been medically disqualified, I do think he makes a deep run. Even if he lost that individual competition and went into overtime against Arida, I'd say he more than likely pulls out the win there and eliminates Arida at Final 8. In which case, he could probably make a very clear run to the final 5. But it's just a shame to see him go out in this way, being medically disqualified just like Tara before him. Mikey got disqualified. It wasn't medically, but Mikey got disqualified. So to see the 3rd disqualification in this season was just really disheartening. It was the worst feeling, because you know the direction this season's going down, and it's not a good direction for this season. I really think the disqualifications very much harmed this season. I'm gonna keep harping on this. It was just, and I know it's not in the control of the people working on the show. It's not in control of the contestants. It's just what naturally happens, and that's what sucks about it. The same thing happened with the challenge Double Agents. There were so many disqualifications that it just kind of tarnished the season, almost. But anyway, rant over. I mean, Freight Train, looking at him and his resume this season, he beat Angel in overtime, and I do think that Freight Train was such a good character this season. He was such a good contestant this season. He really brought it. He gave it his all. He never gave up. He was he was so good from a team morale standpoint for Dirty Hands, and I hope he comes back in the future. Maybe if they do a Tough as Nails All-Star season, I'd love to see Freight Train come back and give it his all. That's all I gotta say for Freight Train.
It's Meryl Tango. She gives off Murph vibes. Murph from season 1, the winner of season 1. Meryl Tango just kind of seems like the Murph type, and she's a ex-US Navy pilot. I think she definitely has what it takes.
I really didn't go in depth on Meryl in my original cast ranking video, and that's mainly because I didn't have much to say about her, except I overall had a positive feeling about how she was going to do on this season. She ended up getting eliminated by Arida in overtime, which in my opinion was very shocking. I did not expect Arida to be the one to take Meryl out of the game. I expected Zeus to be the one to take Meryl out of the game. I expected Scott to be the one to take Meryl out of the game. I did not expect Arida, of all people, to take Meryl out of the game, but that's just the way things worked. And I did note how she gave off those Murph vibes, and she did. It's just she couldn't pull out the win in the end, and that's really all it came down to.
Liz, I said in my last video that she gives off Linda vibes. I don't think that's doing Liz justice. Liz will probably turn out to be better than Linda. I think Liz probably has the top 3 on lock. If I had to put my money on someone to make the top 3, I'd put it on Liz.
Well, you lost your money.
Again, I could look like an idiot when the show comes out and she doesn't make it to the final 3.
Welcome to the idiot club. No, I do think Liz was a really good competitor this season. She really showed herself to be a really good competitor after she won that first challenge to pick Dirty Hands. And she picked a good team for Dirty Hands. However, every episode, she just kind of fell down the list a little bit, you know? She was the second person in a row to be eliminated by Arida. Let's talk about that. No, she went into overtime against Arida. Arida was the one to take Liz out of the game. Again, Arida just coming in here, taking out all my top picks. Thanks, Arida. Liz was very enjoyable on the season. She had her fun moments, but after she got eliminated, her edit just kind of fell down. I look at her as sort of the glue that holds Dirty Hands together. Even more so than Freight Train, even more so than Angel, I do think Liz was the one pulling the team together at crucial points, especially after Freight Train got disqualified. Liz was the one that really pulled the team together. She clashed with Zeus often, but Liz was so good for team morale, and I don't even want to think about what would have happened if Dirty Hands lost to Liz. No, Liz, good competitor, I just overestimated her, and I think a lot of people did.
She doesn't seem like she's going to be very adaptable at all. She, once again, like Sarah, is good at her job. I don't think that translates into adaptability, though. But the thing that puts her this low on the list is that she seems really overconfident in her interviews, like really confident. So that kind of makes me bump her down a little bit.
I was wrong about her adaptability, and I was also very wrong about her overconfidence. I don't know where I got the idea that she was so overconfident. I don't know what I was thinking when I made that video, but she won 2 overtimes. I believe she is the only person throughout this entire season to win 2 overtimes, which is... Oh, no, Swifty did. Never mind. Her and Swifty are the only people on this season to win 2 overtimes, and they ended up in overtime together. But Arida went into overtime 3 times in a row, and she got a massive boost in her edit around her first overtime. Arida was such a fun character this season. I went from, like, not being too excited to see her to her being one of my favorites. She got eliminated in overtime by Swifty because of one error she made at the beginning. If she hadn't made that error, I probably assume she wins that and takes Swifty out of the game at Final 5. But yeah, Arida, a pleasant surprise this season. I did not expect her to do this well. I did not expect her to be this much enjoyable to watch.
But it's Swifty Sanders. Swifty kind of reminds me of Lee from season 1. That's kind of what I'm getting, where Lee lost season 1 because he went up against Michelle, and Michelle seemed a little bit more prepared, seemed a little bit more like she was knowing what she was doing going into the season than Lee did. I think Lee he was adaptable and he was ready to take stuff on, but he wasn't prepared. I think Swifty is prepared, he's adaptable, but he's not ready to take stuff on like Lee is.
Well, he was definitely up to the task and he was definitely ready. Although he won 2 overtimes, the third one he went into against Zeus, that was pretty much an unwinnable situation. Zeus was such a climber. Zeus likes climbing things. He said that earlier in the episode. And Swifty just really didn't stand a chance, especially with his foot injury. I don't even know how painful that must have been for him. But to make it this far with a foot injury, that's commendable. I do like Swifty. I think Swifty was one of the more inspirational figures on the season. It's just that Final 4 was really good, and Swifty was just around people who were really good, and he was sort of the least good out of those Final 4. He absolutely killed it this season, though. I mean, I enjoyed seeing him. He played one heck of a game.
In my opinion, I don't think Sarah Burkett's winning this thing. You're gonna hear me throw around the word adaptable a lot in this video. I don't think Sarah Burkett's very adaptable.
Well, she didn't win, so technically I was correct. But no, I do have to take away my comment about her not being adaptable enough. She definitely showed her adaptability this season in so many different ways. And she did a lot better this season than what I was expecting and what I think a lot of people were expecting. A lot of people weren't expecting that much out of Sarah Burkett. And she proved everyone wrong. She proved me wrong. She proved anyone who doubted her wrong. She was a beast this season. She made it into the top 3. And I did not expect her to make it in the top 3.
Number 1 is Zeus. Cyril, Zeus, Antai. Looking at the rest of this cast, if Zeus goes into overtime, I really don't know who he loses against. Zeus is probably the biggest lock to make it through any overtime he goes into. The question is, can he win in the end? And I'm thinking he can.
He didn't. Zeus, it was a matter if he can win. I was right about him making top 3. I was right about him winning any overtime he was in because he did win every overtime he was in, obviously, or else he wouldn't have made top 3. Zeus, towards the beginning, I think was sort of under the radar. The edit never really picked him up until later in the season when he became the dirty hands underdog, when he became that guy that everyone was rooting for in the end. Yeah, he had his flaws, he had his moments where he wasn't the best to be around, but at the end of the day, he was representing Dirty Hands, and he got second place. I was also right about him being the Danny of the season in my first video, because they both got second place. Zeus really played one heck of a game this season.
He seems like he has the type of personality that really translates well into Tough as Nails. He has the attitude, the outlook on life that really just probably elevates him above the rest here. It's just that outlook on life he has compared to all the other people on this cast. It really makes me put him this high in the list because he's such a positive guy. He's such a positive thinker. He's determined. He is tough as nails. I think he could be the champion.
I was right about all those things, but I should have put him at number 1 from the start. I did end up putting him at number 1 later on in my other episode reviews, but I put him in 4th place to start with. I don't know why I put him in 4th place to start with. When I put Freight Train at number 2, I probably should have put Scott at number 2 and Freight Train in 4th in hindsight, but hindsight's 20/20. We know Scott won now, so obviously I would have put him at number 1. But he was probably my gut intuition for who would win this season, which always goes to show you should always go with your gut. Because Scott ended up winning this season. I was wrong to put him in 4th place. And he's the big winner. He's the Tough as Nails Season 2 champion. He's the Be Better Scott Henry, the winner of Tough as Nails Season 2. And once the season got going, I think it was pretty obvious that he was going to be the winner. So obvious to a point where I thought at one point he was going to be a decoy winner, but he wasn't. He was the actual winner. Comes down to another problem I had this season, which we'll talk about now. This season really kind of dropped the ball in the editing room, I'd say. Zeus and Arida really didn't get much screen time towards the beginning, but their edit picked up very much so in the end. Scott was the obvious choice the entire way through. Liz just kind of kept derailing and derailing until she ultimately punched out. Shelly's elimination episode was really obvious. The only surprises in the editing that I found were obviously Sarah making it to the end and Meryl losing to Arida. And I've been pretty negative on this season. My overall thoughts on this season is I still kind of liked it. It just wasn't as good as season 1, and I think if you're comparing it to season 1, you're going to be disappointed. But standing on its own, just as its own thing, take season 1 out of the equation, I think it was a pretty good season. I mean, the disqualifications could have not been there, and it would have been better. They do kind of hold this season back, but, I mean, you can't control that. This season had a great cast, it had great potential, and, you know, I came out of it liking the season. That's really all that matters. Now we'll get to my awards. Now, if you don't know what my awards are, well, I'm going to assume you haven't watched my challenge reviews, because those are pretty bad. But we're going to talk about my awards. Now, our first award is the Gold Star Award, and I give this award to someone who did really well on any given season. And I ultimately narrowed it down to the final 3 of the seasons, Zeus, Scott, and Sarah. And ultimately, it's no question who my Gold Star went to. And it went to Scott Henry. Scott D. Henry gets the Gold Star Award. Obviously, he won Tough as Nails Season 2. Scott Henry gets the Gold Star Award, not just because he won, but because he dominated the entire season until the point up where he won. Scott didn't just win at the end, he won 4 individual competitions and placed pretty high on 3 others. Really, there were only 2 where he didn't do that well on, and he never even went into overtime. He never even sniffed the overtime air. He was that good. It's time for my next award, and this one's the Dumpster Fire Award. This is an award I give to a contestant that I really didn't like, or a contestant that was just a dumpster fire. But on this season, I'm going to cheat a little bit. It's the disqualifications, okay? The disqualifications get my Dumpster Fire Award, because I've already ranted about this. On a show like Tough as Nails, disqualifications really, really hurt a season. The fact that 3 people were not present for a vast majority of the finale, that just kind of bums me out. As a fan of Tough as Nails, I want to see all these people compete in the team competition and give it their all, but we only got to see 9 people compete in the team competition and give it their all. And Swifty had to sit out of the final team competition. Someone had to sit out of the final team competition. I just can't stress enough how much I hated the disqualifications this season. And now time for my Second Chance Award. And this is an award I give to someone on this season who I want to see back on any TV show, really. But mainly I'm talking about a future season of Tough as Nails, like realistically, if they do Tough as Nails All-Stars. Who do I want to see on that season? And my Second Chance Award goes to Freight Train. I narrowed it down to Freight Train, Zeus, and Arida. Freight Train easily takes it. He was so robbed, medically disqualified. I think if he's fit enough to come back, he should come back. If he's not fit enough to come back, I give my Second Chance Award to Zeus. Zeus was a beast this entire season. He really deserves a second chance. But Freight Train deserves that second chance if he's fit enough to continue. So that's my review on Tough as Nails Season 2. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of Tough as Nails Season 2 down in the comment section below. I will see you in my next Tough as Nails Season 2 video, which is going to be breaking down the edit of Season 2 and Season 1. And I will see you then. Goodbye.